Imagine being sat in a theater at 9:30 p.m., staring up at the silver screen, side by side with Jenna Ortega stands, millennials, and me, a dumbass YouTuber ready to watch A24's latest. And I'd have it no other way. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we are talking about The Death of a Unicorn, directed by Alex Scharfman, starring Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd, Richard E. Grant, Téa Leoni, Will Poulter, and of course, the great Anthony Carrigan. And I joke about it at the top of the video, but my experience watching this movie in theaters tonight was as cliche as you'd expect from the opening of a new A24 movie, and yes, I fit in right into the crowd as we watched this absurd movie that I was actually looking forward to, and I think we all walked out of the theater, for the most part, enjoying the film.
Horse-like mammalia.
With some sort of protrusion or growth.
It's a fucking unicorn.
And of course, I will be getting to spoilers for Death of a Unicorn, so if you haven't had a chance to watch it just yet, and you line up with the target audience that I listed, go check out the movie, come back, and let's just jump into it. So what is this film about? Well, it's pretty simple as you see in the trailers. Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega play father and daughter who accidentally run over a unicorn on their way to a pharmaceutical CEO's secluded mansion in the woods. This also triggers a chain of events leading to the discovery of a miracle cure by using the blood and horn of this unicorn, but also discovering the eventual nature of these mythical beings that are in these woods. And by far the best aspect of this film is the ensemble cast. I really enjoyed the father-daughter relationship inside of this film, even if it was quite a simple one. You meet these characters on a plane ride to Holland, with Jenna Ortega's Ridley resting her head on her father's shoulder, but of course with Rudd's knack for a good physical comedy, he ruins it to show that they really are not all that close at the beginning of this film. Her mother is no longer in the picture, which we find out slowly as more and more details are shared throughout the runtime of this film. She had died at some point in the past by some disease, most likely cancer, and because Elliot works in pharmaceuticals, he feels some sort of drive to bury himself in his work. For one, as a business, it is extremely profitable, making him want to earn enough money so his daughter never has to worry about funds for the rest of her life, essentially. But also there's some inner drive within him to want to help find some cure, although that drive within him has been overshadowed by the greedy mindset you see all the time in this industry. This is probably the closest we get to this film having a greater meaning to it. If anything, these themes are very similar to the show Common Side Effects, which oddly enough is the second time I've mentioned that show just in the past couple weeks here on the channel, and if you haven't seen it just yet, that show is literally a must-watch. It is so good, but that show just handles these themes in a much more impactful and deeper manner, and I don't think that this film is dead set on you walking out of it wanting to condemn and abolish the entire pharmaceutical industry, because it's first and foremost a silly unicorn movie at its core. And the two actors that fully understand that this is a silly unicorn movie are Anthony Carrigan as the butler for Odell's family and Will Poulter, who plays the rich and spoiled son of Odell. Carrigan is so effortlessly funny inside of this film. I do wish he was in it a bit more, but every second he is on screen, even if it's just in the background of a frame, your eye just gravitates to him and his reactions to what's going on. Their mansion is clearly under attack by these monstrous unicorns, and he is still being forced to be silent, make omelets and tea, and just go with the flow. And when he does have something to say, he's always right. You get so much comedy of his back and forth with every family member that simply just takes advantage of him at every chance that they can get, and I couldn't be happier that this guy is one of the only sole survivors by the end of the film. Then you have Will Poulter's performance, which might be the funniest I've ever seen him. He plays the spoiled rich kid so incredibly well in this. Every offhand comment he makes landed with my audience, and his descent into being high off unicorn dust, turning him into the true antagonist of the story, was perfect.
Griff! Get Elliot a suit!
Oh, no, really, it's okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
He doesn't mind.
No,
Okay. Griff! Forget it!
There's the whole unicorn mythology in this film, with the history of men attempting to tame the unicorn and use it for their own profits and gains. Poulter represents those who misunderstand these legends and warnings against, trying to harness this magic of the unicorn, where Ortega is the fair and pure maiden who understands and empathizes with the creatures and their want to be reunited with the body of their baby unicorn. In an odd way, actually, I think that these characters' mythology and the comedy in this movie fits very well in the Cabin in the Woods universe, which does feature a unicorn in the final act of that film. I think the entire movie works best if you honestly kind of think of it in that way. Richard E. Grant and Téa Leoni are the parents of Poulter's character, and they're what you'd expect to see in this film. Again, these characters are fueled by greed when it comes to the discovery, with Grant's character at first dying of cancer at the beginning of the film before being cured and subsequently murdered by these unicorns. I do think that as this film goes on, the actual unicorn kills and action scenes, if you will, work better and better. The CGI isn't the greatest thing in the world, but it's good enough for a movie like this. You get several horn-stabbing deaths with a couple of jump scares to go along with them, which were fine. fine. I think ODELL's death was probably the best unicorn stabbing of the film, with the poor death of Dr. BHATIA, played by Sunita being rather cruel, as she is literally torn to pieces by these unicorns. Téa Leoni's death was maybe my favorite of the film, as it wasn't just a gruesome death, but also an act of cruelty by her own son. They are desperate to survive, with Poulter in his coked up days bringing comedy to every peak around the corner as they try to get away from these unicorns. Leoni wants to blow up the unicorn with a gas canister, while Poulter's, third eye is telling him that it would backfire on everyone. But as Leoni's character is being torn to shreds, Poulter has a chance to end her suffering and take the unicorn out with her, but rather than taking the shots, he leaves his mother to die, knowing that her son just abandoned and betrayed her. It is such a cold moment, and one that I wish that they held on for a bit longer. The film ends with Shepard using Ridley as bait to subdue the unicorns in order to tie them up. Thinking he has tamed the beast, Paul Rudd finally takes a stand against Shepard as he stabs him with the severed unicorn horn from earlier in the film. He just kind of stands there as well, getting himself stabbed by Shepard as well, so they both just end up bleeding out. Of course, the unicorn gets out of the ropes and kicks Shepard in one truly gnarly hit, which at this point was so satisfying. But as Paul Rudd begins to bleed out, the most emotional scene between him and Ortega happens as she tells him what she saw from touching the unicorn's horn. Yes, there is also a plot point where she saw a vision of the soul of the unicorn and begins to believe that their souls are intertwined and that their souls eventually return to some place once they die. It's a very touching goodbye between the two, which the actors give way more emotion to this scene than the movie frankly deserves. And then Paul Rudd dies. The end. But no, of course, this unicorn movie can't end on a downer. The unicorns use their magic to reincarnate both the baby and Paul Rudd, who in the process sees the same vision his daughter had just told him about. The movie ends with them riding together in the back of a police car because, of course, all the dead bodies look extremely suspicious, but they don't care that they are arrested. They have one another and they rest their heads on each other's shoulders as the unicorns come in one last time to free them, mirroring the very beginning of the film and their emotional arc throughout this story. When it comes to A24's large catalog of films, I would say that this film is very much on the end of the spectrum that is going for more general audience appeal. But the reason, at least for me, that makes A24 special is its tendency to absolutely just throw audience expectations out the window to make whatever artsy movie that they want to make. This does result in many of their films having very high critic ratings and very low audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes, but that's, at least for me, when you know you're about to get into something truly special. This movie to me was very fun as I was watching it. The performances and the comedy you get was worth seeing it with an audience for me, but it does leave you walking away a bit empty as compared to what the studio is generally known for. And I won't say that's necessarily a bad thing. Not every film needs to have a deeper meaning, and that definitely isn't the point of this one. I always take the filmmaker's intent into consideration when it comes to every movie that I watch, and I generally think that this film does accomplish what the director was going for. But there was still something missing for me, and one scene in particular encapsulates that missing element for me. As soon as the cure is discovered, you get this wonder where the camera pans from every character as they begin to plan for the future. Paul Rudd is running the numbers on how much money they'll make. Richard E. Grant is talking with other board members. Téa Leoni is pitching the product to investors. Will Poulter is bragging to his buddies that they are onto something truly big. And of course, Anthony Carrigan is catering to them all. But Jenna Ortega has been doing research on the history of unicorns, and she interrupts the scene by trying to warn everyone against going through with this plan. You can tell what Alex Scharfman is trying to accomplish with this scene. You see everyone's perspective and greed with the situation. It feels wrong, and the wonder adds to the feeling that this is all happening so incredibly fast. But the scene just doesn't feel chaotic and snappy enough. It doesn't earn the moments with Jenna Ortega yelling over everyone to get their attention, and I think that's how I felt about the movie overall. Like I said, it has all the elements: a solid cast, good comedy, themes of greed, and a spiritual element at the heart of the lead characters, but it just wasn't snappy enough to fully get my attention. This is Alex Scharfman's directorial debut, and I think that this is something he can easily improve on in his next film. And similar to Y2K earlier last year, it's a promising debut and an undoubtedly entertaining watch, so I think that he did accomplish just enough with this film for me to recommend it. Especially for those Jenna Ortega stans, millennial A24 fans, and of course, the dumbass YouTubers. But those are just my thoughts on Death of a Unicorn. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. Did you enjoy the film, or do you think that Neon, with its recent success in Nora, The Monkey, and Longlegs, have surpassed A24 in the independent horror film sphere? I love some good competition in the film industry, and I think that it's truly beginning to heat up between these studios more than ever. And of course, if you did enjoy this video, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe to the channel to see more reviews just like this. this. I just talked about Severance Season 2 a few days ago, which was incredible, along with my weekly reviews for Daredevil Born Again. I am about to be out for a week, but I will be back to hopefully talk about Hell of a Summer, but I'm not entirely sure I'll have a video out for that one. I will for sure be back for Warfare, and maybe even drop that trailer just non-stop plays in theaters, and I'm curious, and I like Christopher Landon as director, so maybe I'll talk about that one as well here on the channel. But either way, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all in my next one.